on First at 9 this Sunday, the 7th of December 2025. The rising toll. Cyclone Ditwa's toll on Sri Lanka keeps rising. Fatalities at 627, 190 still missing. The hammer and sickle. President vows Sri Lanka's highest ever compensation for crop damage. Urges rapid recultivation post Ditwa. Warns government officials to not allow bureaucracy delay rebuilding efforts. Unseen costs. Nearly 1,000 schools across Sri Lanka affected by Ditwa. 100,000 students directly affected. Walking the tightrope. Sri Lanka's reserve assets fall 2.9% in November as the government braces for post-disaster rebuilding efforts.
Kalin baby soap rupial 90කට. Kalin baby podi හැමෝටමයි.
This is Ada Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9 on the Ada Derana News channel. I'm Aditya Adrisinghe joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world, brought to you by the only Sri Lankan media network to rise to the pinnacle across all media platforms, recognized as the best by every survey and beloved by the people. On your top story tonight, the Disaster Management Centre reports that the death toll from the recent disaster in the island nation has risen to 627 with 190 still missing. The Kandy district has recorded the highest number of fatalities, totaling 232. Efforts to clean up damaged homes, repair roads and locate the missing are still ongoing.
Search operations are ongoing in many mountainous areas affected by the recent landslides. 4 members of the same family were buried in a landslide at the Nilamba crossroads in Doluwa within the Kandy district on the 28th. The mortal remains of the father was recovered on the same day. 9 days after the incident, the remains of the mother, daughter and son were found today by an Indian rescue team. In the Valikanda area of Kurunduwatta Gampola, 4 houses were buried in a landslide on the night of the 27th, leaving 8 people missing. The remains of 4 individuals have been recovered so far, while a team from the Pakistani army continues to search for the rest.
So in next 2 to 3 days, we are hoping to find next 3 bodies which are being buried under this rubble, as there is a huge mudslide and a lot of fountains which are passing nearby. So there we have been able to get the machinery.
In Ihalagama, Gampola, Udapalata Mavatura, a landslide buried 34 individuals from 15 families. So far, 28 bodies have been recovered. Rescue operations for the remaining 6 are ongoing, with private trucks and machinery being used. However, efforts have been hampered due to a shortage of fuel, according to an Ada Derana correspondent. According to the Disaster Management Centre, 627 people have died while 190 still remain missing. Of these, 232 deaths have been reported in the Kandy district. Meanwhile, DMC officials visited the upper mountain of the Doravela Bridge in the vicinity of the Balangoda bus stand, where rock slides pose a risk. Residents of 8 houses below the area have been advised to evacuate.
ආපදා කළමනාකරණය මහතුරු ඇවිල්ලා තාකත් කරලා තියෙන්නේ මේ ගල විතරයි. මේ ලොකු ගල. ඒ ලොකු ගලට තමයි අර ත්‍රිකෝණයක් හදලා ගෙවල් 8කට අයින් වෙන්න කියලා. මේ ගල් එහෙම අහුවෙලා නැහැ වට. මේ ගල එහෙම නිකම්මනේ තියෙන්නේ. මෙතන තියෙන ගල කොටයකට හේත් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. දැන් මේ යට ගලක් ගියොත් එහෙම මේ සෙට් එකම එකපාර එනවා. ගෙවල් 8 සීමා කරන්න බෑ. මේ මුළු ගමටම බලපාන හේතුව තමයි මේක.
මේ ගල ටික දැක්කහම ඇත්තටම ඇඟේ මයිල් කෙලින් වෙනවා. අපිට ලැබෙන දුරකථන ඇමුතුම් වලින් අපිට සන.
According to the information we have received, many individuals remain in high risk zones. As rains continue to fall, their lives may also be in danger. We therefore request that they evacuate to safer areas.
Against this backdrop, floods have damaged farmland across several areas. Meanwhile, houses damaged by floods within the Colombo district are being cleaned up at the moment. The DMC reports that 2,179,138 people from 611,530 families have been affected across the island. Currently, 89,857 individuals are staying in 956 safe locations.
ඔබේ සම හඳුනාගෙන ඖෂධීය ශාකසාරමේ Forever face wash එකක් භාවිතා කරන්න.
අප වෙනුවෙන් කැපවූ ලංකාවේ අපේ අංක 1 ඩයලොග්. දවටනේ නියම මිල සඳහන් ස්විස්ටෙක් නිෂ්පාදන මිලදී ගන්න. ස්විස්ටෙක් ගන්න ඕන හොඳම තීරණය.
President Anura Dissanayake asserts that the government is providing the highest amount of compensation for crop damage in Sri Lanka's history and urges the rapid recultivation of farmland damaged by Cyclone Ditwa. The President called on the government officials to ensure that fair disbursement of compensation happens. He also warned officials not to allow bureaucratic inefficiencies delay the restoration of essential infrastructure.
President Anura Disanayake chaired a discussion at the Matale District Secretariat yesterday, which focused on measures to revive the livelihoods of the people of the district following Cyclone Ditwa.
We have repaired roads to meet immediate requirements. However, they cannot be used in the long run as dangers still persist. Estimates must be drafted for rebuilding those roads permanently. Your usual procedure when a road is damaged is to draft an engineer's estimate and call tenders. However, that process takes more than 3 or 4 months. What we require now is an expedited operation. We have authorized you to purchase materials. With technical assistance from the RDA and contribution from the Army, selected roads can be completed promptly.
තෝරාගත්තු පාරවල් ටික ඉවර කරන්න පුළුවන් නේ.
ප්‍රජාජල ව්‍යාපෘති. අපිට ළඟා වෙන්න බෑ. මේජම එකක් තියෙනවා වැහිගල. පාරේ නාය ගිහිල්ලා එතන පවුල් 500ක් විතරම වතුර නැතුව ඉන්නවා.
ආපදා කළමනාකරණ කමිටු රැස්.
Doesn't the Disaster Management Committee convene? Don't you discuss these issues there? You only mention the fact that roads are damaged once you are here. Then another official asks which road is damaged.
කොහෙද පාර කියලා?
අපි දැනුවත් නෑ ජනාධිපතිතුමනි.
දැන් ඔබතුමීලා කට්ටිය දන්න අයනේ මේ ඉන්නේ.
You are acquainted with each other. You don't need to strictly make these requests through official channels. It is as if you are waiting for an invitation to do your part. You cannot work like that.
එහෙම වැඩ කරන්න බැහැනේ.
හෙක්ටයාර 3403ක ප්‍රමාණයක් තමයි බලපෑමට ලක් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ගොවින් පොරොන්දු වෙලා තියෙන අපිට ඊට භාගයකට වගා ප්‍රමාණයක් නැවත වගා කරන්න.
දෙසැම්බර් 30 වෙනකොට වගා කරලා අවසන් වෙන්න නම් අපි මේගොල්ලන්ට මුදල් ටික ඉක්මනින්ම ලබා දෙන්න ඕනේ. අපිට පිටතර වීවල් ප්‍රශ්නයක් එන්නේ නැද්ද?
අත්කසියන දෙපාර්තමේන්තෙන් වීවගාසල් අපේ හෙක්ටයාර 620ක් තමයි පූර්ණ හානි සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
ඔබතුමාලා කියන්නේ මේ කුඹුරු ගැනම නේද?
ඔව් සර්.
ඉතින් මේ 3400ක් කියනවා.
ගැටලුවක් තමයි හැමදාම ආයතන දෙකක් ගත්තාම ආයතන දෙකෙන් හැමදාම වෙනස් තොරතුරු තමයි යන්නේ.
මේ දත්ත හරි වැදගත්. ඔක්කොම අපි දත්ත මතනේ තීරණය කරන්නේ.
The President also participated in a special coordination committee meeting in Anuradhapura this morning.
තමන්ගේ නිවස්වල තිබෙන ලිං අපිරිසුදු වීම නිසා ජල පහසුකම් නැති වුණු කණ්ඩායම ගැන අදහසක් තියෙනවද?
දැනට වාර්තා වෙච්ච ලිං 60 ගණක් වගේ විලච්ච ප්‍රදේශයක්.
ඒකෙන් කොච්චර පිරිසුදු කරලා තියෙනවද?
අපි දැනට පොදුවේ පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් විදිහට ලිං 20 ගණක් වගේ ඉවර කරලා තියෙනවා.
ඇයි මේක ඉවර කරන්න බැරි?
වුණියාව අන්නාරම සහ අනුරාධපුර ලිං සුද්ධ කිරීමේ ක්‍රියාකාරකම් අපි කරන් යනවා. අපිට දැන්නුවොත් එimhe බලුණත් අවස්ථාවක් තියෙනවා කියලා අපි අනිවාර්යෙන් සුද්ධ කරනවා.
ඒකනේ. ඇයි ප්‍රමාද වුනේ? අපි ඉස්සෙල්ලම දැන් බලන්නේ වාරි මාර්ග පද්ධතිය. ඒක අවසන් නේ.
නේ පද්ධතියත් ගැටලුවක් තියෙනවා. සම්පූර්ණ පද්ධතිය විනාශ වෙලා අක්කර 685කට වතුර ගන්න බැරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා.
ඒක කාටද අයිති?
වාරි මාර්ග දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව.
ඉතින් වාරි මාර්ග දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව කියවෙන්න ඕනේ. අපි ඇහුවේ ඒකනේ.
ජනාධිපතිතුමනි මෙහිමයි. දැන් ඔය කැඩී ගිය ඒවා තාවකාලික හදන්න ජලාශ හෙඩ් වර්ක්ස් වලට මිලියන 42ක් උත් ඇල මාර්ග වලට මිලියන 42ක වගේ ප්‍රමාණයකුත් අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. ඒත් එක්කම ස්ථීර වශයෙන් හදන්න
අපිට දැන් අවශ්‍ය
Our immediate requirement is to begin cultivating for the Maha season. After that, we have to plan whether these can be rebuilt permanently while irrigating farmland during the gap between this Maha season and the coming Yala season, or in the month and a half between the next Yala and Maha seasons.
කරන්න පුළුවන් දෙක අපි ප්ලෑන් එක හදන්න ඕනේ.
අපි හෙක්ටයාර 98305ක් වගා කරලා තිබ්බා වී වගාව. දැනට 100%ක් හානිලා තියෙනවා හෙක්ටයාර 20662ක්. ඒකෙන් අපිට දැනට වගා කරන්න පුළුවන් තත්ත්වයේ තියෙන හෙක්ටයාර 17442ක්.
පූර්ණ හානි වුණු ගොවියන්ගේ බිම් ප්‍රමාණයයි ඒ ගොවියන්ට හිමි මුදල් ප්‍රමාණය කවද වෙනකොට කියන්න පුළුවන්.
අපිට මේ සිකුරාදා වෙනකොට
I am aware of the issues that can arise when granting this type of allowances. Some complain that although they were entitled to compensation, they did not receive it. You have to completely mitigate such cases. Everyone who is entitled to compensation must receive it, and those who are not entitled should not receive it unfairly.
According to the President's media division, President Disanayake noted that the government is providing the highest amount of compensation for crop damages in Sri Lanka's history, with the expectation that cultivation will recommence promptly. Subsequently, the President called on Chief Incumbent of the Atamasthana and Chief Sanganayaka of the Nuwara Kalaviya, Most Venerable Pallegama Hemaratana Nayaka Thera, and apprised him of the measures being implemented by the government to provide relief and restore the livelihoods of people affected by Cyclone Ditwa.
Meanwhile, the Road Development Authority has announced that the Colombo-Kandy road via Kadugannava will be fully reopened for traffic 24 hours a day from 4 a.m. tomorrow. Meanwhile, the National Transport Commission also announced a special bus service for train passengers travelling from Kandy to Colombo tomorrow.
A significant number of roads and bridges were damaged by the incessant rains, floods and landslides. According to the Road Development Authority, 256 roads and 40 bridges have been damaged by the floods and landslides. Speaking at the government media conference, Director General of the Road Development Authority, Vimal Kandambe, highlighted that more than 219 damaged roads have been reopened for traffic.
More than 95% of roads have been reopened for traffic. However, we are still challenged by the condition of the central province. We are awaiting instructions from the National Building Research Organisation. We aim to reopen all remaining roads before next Friday. However, all roads closed at the moment will be reopened once proper inspections have been carried out.
Meanwhile, efforts were underway today as well to remove flood and landslide debris obstructing traffic across several roads island-wide. As part of the reconstruction drive, the Road Development Authority commenced repair work on the road leading up to the Bakamuna Kumara Alla Bridge along the Dambulla Mahayangana main road. This particular stretch of the Dambulla Mahayangana main road was damaged when the spillway gates of the Moragahakanda Reservoir were opened amid the recent torrential rainfall. Restoration work in the Gadolbokwa along the Navalapitiya Gampula main road, which remains closed for traffic, began with the assistance of the Sri Lanka Army. The Road Development Authority has commenced restoration of the Nuwara Pudaluwaya main road. Landslides that rocked the area left colossal amounts of debris on the road, completely obstructing traffic. Meanwhile, the Kadugannawa passage of the Colombo Kandy main road is scheduled to be reopened for traffic tomorrow. Road access to Kadugannawa was restricted recently over safety concerns amid the unprecedented natural disasters that struck Kandy recently.
Over the past few days, we allowed the movement of traffic only from 6 am to 6 pm. Access was barred after 6 pm since RDA engaged in repair work, including debris removal and controlled rock blasting. To ensure smooth access for commuters tomorrow, all repair work will be completed by 4 am. The Kadugannawa passage of the Colombo Kandy main road will reopen for traffic at 4 am tomorrow and will reopen continuously thereafter.
Sri Lanka's railway services also reeled under the devastating after effects of Cyclone Ditwa. General Manager of the Department of Sri Lanka Railways, Ravindra Padmapriya, says the authorities are yet to make final decision on how to reconstruct Peradeniya's Black Bridge. On Monday, we will decide if we can in fact restore the damaged section of this bridge. If we conclude that we can repair the bridge, we will have to decide how we must go about doing so. We might most probably construct a new bridge. Our plan is to have 2 lanes on this bridge. The present state of the bridge indicates that temporary restoration is not suitable. With the railway sector still recovering post-disaster, Chairman of National Transport Commission P.A. Chandrapala revealed details of a special bus service from Kandy to Colombo implemented to accommodate passengers who usually rely on train services.
උදෑසන 4ට උදෑසන 4 පසුවී මිනිත්තු 15කට සහ උදෑසන 4 පසුවී මිනිත්තු 30කට පසුව දුම්රිය වාර ප්‍රවේශ පත්‍ර සහිත මගීන් සඳහා පමණක් වූ ප්‍රවාහන සේවාවක් සැපයීම සඳහා සැලසුම් සකස් කරලා තියෙනවා.
Now, as communities continue to recover from the destruction caused by Cyclone Ditwa, the government has moved to ease the flow of international aid. A gazette issued by the government exempts all foreign relief donations from import duties and special commodity levies for the next year. Meanwhile, power and water supplies have been reinstated across many of the affected regions.
The Puthur Thaman Kadwa drinking water project is currently being restored after sustaining excessive damage from the recent flooding triggered by the overflow of the river Mahavali. Sections of the Puthur village's access road have eroded, damaging the underground pipeline network. As a result, residents have lost access to drinking water despite ongoing restoration work. Kandy Municipal Commissioner Indika Abesinghe disclosed that 16 water supply projects in the Kandy district have been temporarily restored. Within the Kandy district alone, 18 water supply projects were ravaged by incessant rains and deadly landslides. The municipal commissioner further confirmed that the overall water supply across the district has now been fully restored. Power disruptions were reported in Mahiyangana, Batiklo and Ampara after the 130 kilowatt transmission line from Rantame to Mahiyangana suffered damage during the adverse weather. A temporary transmission system has since been installed to re-establish electricity in the affected areas. Energy Minister Kumara Jayakodi visited the site to observe the repair work. In a separate development, one of the 2 mobile hospitals donated by the Indian government for disaster-affected communities has been deployed near the Mahiyangane Base Hospital where medical services have already commenced. With the Mahiyangane Base Hospital fully submerged due to the rising waters of the Mahawali River, all regular health services in the area have come to a standstill. The Indian mobile units will continue to operate until normal medical services can be reinstated. In response to the devastation caused by Cyclone Ditwa, the government declared that all relief donations will be exempt from import duties and associated levies, including the special commodity duty. This directive, detailed in the Gazette, will remain effective for 1 year from the 5th of December this year. Accordingly, the special commodity duty will not apply to essential goods donated by foreign governments, private enterprises, voluntary organizations or entities working directly with state-approved institutions engaged in relief operations.
30% discount on Apico Farm and Spring mattresses available at Apico Supercenter and Apico Daily.
Musa Phoenix Nattal Fiesta November 13 සිට 16 දක්වා අනුරාධපුර ස්පොට්නික් ක්‍රීඩා පිටියේදී.
The government, while implementing national-level initiatives to support those affected by inclement weather, continues to receive increased aid and assistance from international partners. Accordingly, 2 separate consignments of relief material, nutritional, food and sanitary items were received today from Australia and Myanmar, while a US team arrived at Katunayake to assist ongoing relief operations.
2 US Air Force C-130J Super Hercules aircraft and airmen from the 36th Contingency Response Group arrived at Katunayake Air Base to assist Sri Lanka's Cyclone Ditwa relief operations. US teams, welcomed by US Ambassador to Sri Lanka Julie Chung, and Sri Lankan officials will work with the Sri Lanka Air Force to transport critical supplies to hard-hit areas. Additional support have also arrived from the US Air Force units in Japan and the US Marine Corps in Okinawa. The deployment follows Sri Lanka's request for assistance, with the US also providing $2 million in humanitarian aid and $2.1 million in airlift support equipment, including fuel trucks, forklifts, floodlights and cargo loading platforms, now in active use for relief missions.
I cannot stress enough that the United States is here to support Sri Lanka in their time of need, and we look forward to working with our partners in the Sri Lankan Armed Forces to address urgent humanitarian assistance needs.
We're working in close cooperation with the Disaster Management Center as well as the Tri-Forces. We know that there are many people on the front lines serving their country. We want them to focus on that and not worry about the logistics and delivery. And this is why the U.S. military is here. We have our Marines and Air Force with equipment to make sure that those supplies are getting to the people that need it the most and throughout the country. And in the days and weeks to come and months to come, there will be a lot more of the recovery and reconstruction that needs to be done. The United States stands by Sri Lanka during this time.
I am thankful on behalf of the President to the United States government of providing this assistance for this time in need, the needy hour.
Meanwhile, Australia has begun delivering 70 metric tons of specialized supplementary nutritional biscuits to support flood-affected Sri Lankans, especially those in security centres and isolated areas. The first 10.02 metric ton consignment arrived at Katunayake Airport today via Sri Lankan Airlines flight from the Australian government warehouse in Dubai. The biscuits will be distributed in the Martale and Nuwara districts. The program, worth $3.5 million Australian dollars, is implemented in partnership with the World Food Programme. Senior officials, including the Australian High Commissioner and the World Food Programme's Sri Lanka representatives, were present during the handover.
Australia is a neighbour of Sri Lanka, and we're an important partner for Sri Lanka in the Indian Ocean region. We stand with Sri Lanka at times of crisis like this. Australia will stand with Sri Lanka shoulder to shoulder as you meet this challenge, and we will continue to support Sri Lanka's recovery and rebuilding efforts.
Today we are sending shipments up to both Nuwara
Nuwara and to Kigal, some of the districts that were hardest hit by this terrible calamity. And again, key message to the people of Sri Lanka, you are not alone. We stand with you at this very challenging time and we will help you to rebuild.
A Myanmar military aircraft carrying humanitarian supplies also arrived at Karunayaka Air Force Base to assist Sri Lankans affected by recent severe weather. The shipment includes sanitary items, medical supplies and other essential goods. A delegation from Myanmar, along with Ambassador of Myanmar to Sri Lanka Malathan Taek and officials from Myanmar's Foreign Affairs Ministry, took part in the official handover ceremony. The United Arab Emirates' 9th consignment of disaster relief aid arrived in Sri Lanka today aboard a UAE Air Force Ilishin IL-76 cargo aircraft. The plane landed at the Bandaranaike International Airport carrying 13,482 kilograms of tents and travel mats. Military officials, disaster management center personnel and foreign ministry representatives were present to receive this shipment.
Now, the Ministry of Education reveals that nearly 1,000 schools across the country have been affected by the recent disaster, impacting approximately 100,000 students. Secretary to the Ministry of Education, Lanka Kaluwewa, told Ada Derana that an official announcement regarding the reopening of schools on December 16th will be issued within the next 2 days.
Cyclone Ditwa struck the island while the advanced level examination, one of the most competitive examinations in the country, was underway. Given the severity of the rains, floods and landslides striking all 25 districts of the country, the examination was postponed. A number of students sitting for the exam were also affected by the disaster. When inquired on the matter, the Ministry of Education confirmed that around 100,000 students have been directly impacted by the adverse weather.
පළාත් 9ම ගත්තත් විශේෂයෙන්ම ආපදාවට වැඩිම ලක් වූ පළාත් එකක් ඇතුළත පාසල් 10කට ආසන්න ප්‍රමාණයක් තමයි කුමන ආකාරයකින් හෝ මේ ආපදාවට ලක් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. සමහර පාසල් වලට දැඩි හානි සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා, සමහර පාසල් වලට විතරම හානි සිද්ධ වෙලා නැහැ. මේ ගණනය කිරීම අනුව මේ ආපදාවට ඍජුව ලක් වෙච්ච දරුවන් ප්‍රමාණය දරුවන් ලක්ෂයක් කියලා ගණනය කිරීමක් කරනවා. දැන් පවතින තත්ත්වය අනුව අපි දැනට නිවැරදි කරලා තියෙනවා අපේ විභාගය ජනවාරි මාසයේ දීප්ලදී පවත්වේකි සම්නම දිනකදී පවත්වනවා. ඒකට අපි දැනට තීරණය කළ දෙන විදිහකට ආපදාවට දැඩිව ලක් වී නොමැති ප්‍රදේශයන්හි පාසල් අපි 16 වෙනි දින විවෘත කිරීමට අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. කුමන ප්‍රදේශයේ කුමන පාසල්ද විවෘත කරන්න කියන එක පිළිබඳව නිල නිවේදනය අපි හෙට දිනේදී හෝ අඟහරුවා දිනේදී පැහැදිලිවම නිකුත් කිරීමට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
Now, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa says the country needs a more precise, clear and effective disaster management program as the island nation moves forward with reconstruction and restoration efforts following the disaster. He expressed these views during an observation tour in Dompe, where he inspected the damage caused to several large-scale factories by the recent floods.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa visited Dompe today to observe the flood damage caused to large-scale factories located within the Dompe Divisional Secretariat Division. Samik Janabalawegaya MP Harshan Rajakarna also accompanied the opposition leader.
use කරන්න බෑ මේවා චෙක් කරන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට අපේ total මේ loss එක බලුවම 2 billion විතර. දැන් මේ වගේ ඒවා visit කරාද ඇවිල්ලා government එක අපිට ඇවිල්ලා document එකක් දීලා තියෙනවා විස්තර දෙන්න කියලා. ප්‍රාතිශීලයෙන් එච්චරයි ඊට පස්සේ නම් මොකද අපි දැක්කේ.
It is essential that the government remains steadfast in its responsibility to develop, strengthen and safeguard facilities such as this. These factories play a vital role in sustaining both regional and urban economies. It is clear, however, that no comprehensive framework has been established to support operations of this nature. Most concerning is the absence of prior warnings to the public and relevant organizations regarding the impending disaster. Had timely alerts been issued, we believe the extent of the damage could have been significantly reduced. This nation has already endured catastrophic events such as the tsunami, yet it is troubling that we still lack a reliable early warning and disaster preparedness system. The government must acknowledge these shortcomings and take corrective action. At the same time, the country urgently requires a strong, well-coordinated disaster management mechanism for the future.
Welcome back. Now, the Manusath Derana Dialogue Relief Mission supporting communities affected by severe weather has now reached its 10th consecutive day. Donations of food and essential supplies arriving at the Derana head office from across the island continue to be distributed to families in need, ensuring timely assistance during this challenging period.
The Manusath Derana Dialogue Relief Operation, launched 9 days ago to support communities affected by the recent adverse weather, continues to gather nationwide generosity. Over the past 9 days, donors from every corner of the island rallied around this national humanitarian effort, extending vital support to those enduring this difficult period. Throughout the day yesterday, countless individuals visited the TV Derana head office in Colombo 10 to contribute food, supplies and other essential items. These supplies were distributed to the flood and landslides victims in Gomaraya, Mavanella, Sedawatta, Maspanna and Kotikavatta areas. The Manusath Derana Dialogue Relief Operation has been working around the clock to ensure that every donation is swiftly delivered to affected families in need. Meanwhile, on the 10th day of the campaign, a steady flow of donors have been arriving at the Derana head office since early morning, reaffirming the nation's collective spirit of compassion and solidarity.
Now taking you to your business news, Sri Lanka's official reserve assets fell by 2.9% in November 2025, dropping to $6.033 billion from $6.216 billion in October, according to the central bank. Foreign current reserves stood at $5.942 billion at the end of November, while October's gross official reserves were $6.102 billion. The total includes $1.4 billion from the People's Bank of China's swap facility, which remains subject to usage conditions. The central bank also made net foreign exchange purchases of $74.3 million in November. So far this year, the Sri Lankan rupee has depreciated by 5.3% against the US dollar. Welcome back. Now in your world news, the death toll from Indonesia's devastating floods has climbed past 900, with hundreds still missing after a rare powerful cyclone over the Malacca Strait triggered days of torrential rain and landslides. More than 100,000 homes have been destroyed and aid teams are struggling to reach remote communities where supplies are being airdropped. In Aceh Tamiang, entire villages were swept away, with survivors reporting families stranded on rooftops for days without food or water. Authorities warn some isolated areas now face starvation. Land routes to several regions remain cut off, while reports of looting underscore the deepening crisis. Now, meanwhile, a massive fire at the Birch by Romeo Lane nightclub in Goa, India, has killed 25 people, most of them staff. Police say gas cylinder explosion in the kitchen triggered the blaze just before midnight Indian Standard Time yesterday. Tourists are also among the victims. 6 people remain in hospital and officials are working to identify the bodies. An inquiry is underway, with authorities promising strict action for any negligence. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi called the tragedy deeply saddening. On your sports news, McLaren's Lando Norris clinched his first ever Formula One Drivers' Championship this evening at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, edging out 4-time defending world champion Max Verstappen. The season finale in Abu Dhabi was poised for an epic conclusion, with the 3 title contenders filling the first 3 spots on the grid. Reigning champion Max Verstappen was on pole, with standings leader Lando Norris second and teammate Oscar Piastri third. Verstappen won the race, but his effort was not enough to overturn Norris's lead in the standings. Despite losing a place to teammate Piastri on the opening lap, the Briton held on to third, the final position he needed to stay in the title fight, and ultimately secured the championship by just 2 points. Piastri finished third in the driver standings, and McLaren won the Constructors' Championship comfortably over Mercedes, with Red Bull finishing third. That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you. Have a great night.